What does a student that comes here go through? What do they learn as they go through your courses and your program?
Well, I think there's two aspects. There's hard skills and soft skills. So the hard skills is you learn how to use very complicated software, something like Maya, which is used for art in most video games, is maybe 10 people's careers. So the most you get to know about that program as a professional is 5 or 6%. So there's a lot of catching up for a student to do coming into a package like Maya. There's a lot to learn. So a lot of it is just that hard skill is, okay, so how do I create a model, texture maps, light the model, get the model rigged for animation, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other half is how do I work in a team environment where there's maybe 200 people making a AAA video game that need to work towards a common single goal. And that is a whole other skill set that I think students need to learn, is how do you put your ego aside and work on a project that we all jointly share and make one vision, one unique product. And that's tricky.
Now, I know this is something that's new here at the university. How big is the program right now? How many students have you guys have going through?
We're starting this fall.
Okay.
So we haven't started yet. I just started in July, so we're going to be starting this fall.
Do you have a sense of how many people you guys are going to have in the first class?
I think somewhere probably around 10 to 15 students. We'd like to see the program grow to about 40 students overall.
Okay. How do you see the fact that EA is here in Baton Rouge impacting things moving forward when you look at the game industry as a whole and see studios and companies come in and a lot of offshoot companies develop around it? So I wanted to get your thoughts on Baton Rouge as a potential future video game hub.
Right. I mean, the nice thing about video games is that you can develop them anywhere. There's no, unlike the film industry where there was a geographic and weather quotient into picking your shooting locations and also external locations for shooting scenes, video games can really be developed anywhere. So it's a lot easier for a city to attract development talent for a video game than it is, say, for a feature film, because there's so many other factors involved. So the government here has been very serious about encouraging digital media and the sector, I think it's one of the better places that you can start a digital media company in the country.
What impact, you mentioned Hollywood, a lot of movies are made here, and one of the reasons is because of the rich tax incentives they have given to entertainment, but they're also offering those same incentives to game studios. What impact do you see that having on things as we look over the next 5 to 10 years at Baton Rouge and maybe even Louisiana as a bigger picture?
Well, I think it has a huge impact. You had, when I started in games, Montreal had a very, very small games industry. And since, the 80s, they have had a lot more tax credits, been a lot more aggressive. And there are now, almost twice as many people working in games in Montreal than in Vancouver. And it's kind of flipped, right? And a lot of that's due to tax incentives and making a location more attractive for business. So I don't see why that can't be replicated elsewhere.
A lot of people from afar know LSU primarily for their football, the Tigers, but there's people that think of Louisiana and I think Duck Dynasty. What has been your experience of being here in Baton Rouge, having lived in Vancouver and other places?
I think a university town's pretty similar, right? Like I've been to a lot of, when I went to university, it's the same thing. You can go into the middle of Sherbrooke, Quebec, which is a very small city, probably half the size of Baton Rouge. But a university feels like a university, right? It's very progressive. A lot of very intelligent people walking around, very international. There's a lot of people who are from outside of not only Baton Rouge, but the country, right? So it feels very cosmopolitan international, right? I think if you got, a couple 100 miles out of town, it would feel very much more like Duck Dynasty, you could say, right? But the same thing's true in Vancouver, right? Like you go a few hours out of Vancouver and you've got a lot of interesting people. Let's say.
The other thing I want to get your thoughts on is the fact that LSU is embracing video game technology and as a program here for masters. I know we've seen SMU, USC, and other big universities. What impact do you see this having on a bigger picture of when the first thing you think of LSU is not necessarily video games, digital media, but we've seen success at other universities, and how are you seeing, maybe from an academia standpoint, other universities get interested in video games?
Well, I think it's taking off. I mean, you're seeing these type of programs all over the country. I think there's about over 400 undergraduate programs that are related to video game development or digital media development. With any new medium, universities usually scoff and say it's a fad, it's not an art form, it's not serious, and especially in video games, because we had the collapse with Atari, of the entire industry kind of went away for a few years until Nintendo sort of resurrected it with the NES. So it takes academia a while. Same thing happened with film, same thing happened with radio, same thing happened with any new medium, right? And it's nice to see them embrace video games. I think the involvement of academia and other industries has developed a video game mentality for all kinds of products. If you're looking, say, at even just using LinkedIn, there's gamification elements in LinkedIn of you've got 80% of your profile done, right? Like other app developers are realizing that motivation and rewards are how we communicate best with these machines, right? So gamification is being applied to things well outside of your traditional entertainment product.
I also want to get your thoughts as someone who worked on the Need for Speed franchise of what are your thoughts on the big movie coming out from DreamWorks and Disney?
I wish I knew about it. I've not read a script or anything, but I think movie conversions from games are always hard. I think as an industry, we've had a pretty mixed track record on successfully taking game franchises into film. And we've had some, B-movie directors who've specialized in sort of those conversions. I hope we have a runaway success, right? Like it would be kind of nice. I think Need for Speed, at least Need for Speed Underground was partially inspired by the Fast and the Furious. So it'd be kind of nice to see that come full circle and have it inspire film.